hot. It's hot. Hello. Welcome to Bookmas Day 3. I know we haven't quite reached the end of the year, but I thought it would be fun to do a tier list of every single book I've read so far this year. Because as I only started YouTube some way through the year, there's a lot of books on here that you have no idea I've read. And I think it will give you an idea of my taste. So let's get into it. I've come up with 6 tiers for this, so I'll just go through them really quickly. Top tier, these live in my soul. They live there, they are stuck with me forever, and I cannot get rid of them, even if I wanted to, but I don't want to. The next tier are the books that just kind of like, yeah, I'm happy I read them, and they might have grown on me since I've read them, but there's something about them that really stuck with me and really resonated with me, and I'm just really happy to have read them this year. I have positive vibes. I enjoyed this. It's a bit forgettable, but I remember enjoying it. Did I even read this? Absolutely no memories of this book. I might have enjoyed it at the time, but it didn't have any long-lasting effect on me. Could give this a miss is books that maybe I just didn't vibe with. Maybe I wasn't in the right headspace. I could have missed out and it wouldn't have affected my reading year at all. And Waste of Life is books that I actively regret reading. I feel like I wasted my time on them. Now, I do want to do a little disclaimer. Just because I felt a way about a book doesn't mean you're going to feel the same way. So if I hated a book you loved, that's fine. I'm glad you enjoyed it, but it just wasn't something that made sense to me. So I'm just gonna quickly show you. There's almost 120 books here and we're gonna go through them all. So I'm not gonna tell you a synopsis of each one. I'm just gonna go forth and give you my opinions. The first 2 are actually the books that I read right at the beginning of the year. They're part of a 4-book series and they are the 2 final books. I adored this series. These ones are live in my soul rent-free. Don't know a series that I love as much as this one. I wept so much that when I talked to my mum about it, she thought someone had died in my actual life and was deeply concerned that something horrific had happened. The next one, A Kingdom of Stars and Shadow. We're going from top to bottom. I hated this book. I don't know why I continue to read it. It should have been a DNF, but absolutely not for me. Next, All Roads Lead Here. I have positive vibes about this book. I feel happy towards it and I remember the plot line, but I don't think it's had any kind of meaningful impact on me. Alone with You in the Ether. This one stuck with me. There's good mental health representation in this that I really appreciate reading. Mental health is a big topic in my life and I was really glad with the representation in this book. Apprentice to the Villain. I really enjoyed this at the time, but I don't hold it as close to me as I did the first one. So I'm gonna go with I have positive vibes. Behind the Net. I remember liking it, but beyond that I remember nothing. No, we'll go I have positive vibes. This stuck with me and potentially not for the reason you're expecting, but the reason is it's the first time I'd heard of Notting and that changed me. That changed me as a person. Collided. I didn't like this book. It wasn't a waste of life, but I would have been happy if I never read it. In comparison to the first one, just not even at the same level. The male main character is just horrific. Confessions of a 40-something fuck-up. Lives in my soul rent-free. I read this near the beginning of the year. It was one of the first contemporary books that I read that wasn't focused on romance, and I just loved it. I thought the messaging was great and it was absolutely hilarious the whole way through. Crimson River. So this is part of the Eden series, and this one specifically stuck with me. I really enjoyed the series as a whole. There were some hits and misses and some I don't remember the plot of at all, but Crimson River is one that I remember really clearly, that I really liked, and that I'm really happy to have read. Cruel Winter with You. This is difficult because I literally read this last night, and so I haven't had time to forget it, but I don't think it's going to stick with me, so I'm going to put it in I have positive vibes. Daisy Jones and the Six. This, I'm sorry, but this is going to go in could give a miss. I'm not sure why it is that some people love this and I just really didn't, but I couldn't get on board with it. I just couldn't get on board. I wish I could have. Delegate Dream Department Store. This is actually going to go and stuck with me. I read it, I enjoyed it, I thought it was pretty good, but I keep returning to it in my brain and thinking about the different things that happened in the book, the different storylines that happened. I think I connected with the characters a lot more than I thought I did when I read it, and they have stuck with me. They are people that I think about often, and they remind me of people I know in real life, so I'm going to go with stuck with me. Dance of Thieves. I have positive vibes. I couldn't retell you the specifics of this book, but I remember really enjoying it, and I remember some of the plot. So I have good positive leanings against this. Death's Obsession. Did I even read this book? I don't remember it. I remember the vague plot, but I don't remember anything about how the plot progressed or how it ended. I think it had quite a meaningful end, but it obviously didn't hit me. Diary of a Void. This is waste of life. I didn't get it. Maybe I'm not smart enough, but I didn't get it. I looked up to see if someone could explain the end to me, and it seems like everyone else got it and I just absolutely did not. Don't believe everything you think. This I could have not read. I'm fine with the fact that I read it, but I wouldn't recommend it to anyone or think that it had a big impact on my life. It was just a fine, fun, short read, but I could have done without it. Dungeons and Drama. I'm gonna go with Stuck With Me because this was the first time I'd read YA contemporary romance, and I think it was just such a good example of the things that I would like to see in YA contemporary romance, and I think that that experience is gonna stick with me for a little while. Lips of the Crown. This is, let's see if we can find the other ones. Summoned to the Wild, and there is some in here twice. On Thrown in the Dark are the two other books in this series, and I'm going to be honest, I only remember the first one. I can't even tell you what order the other two go in. It's on my Goodreads. I know I read it, but I don't know what it was. Elder Race. This book was fantastic for me. Again, another book that focuses on mental health, but it did it in a really interesting way. And it introduced me into an author that I'm definitely going to read from in the future. Ellie Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. Yeah. Positive vibes. I enjoyed it. It didn't astound me, but I liked it. Everyone in my camp family has killed someone. Doesn't really fit into any of these categories. I remember it. I remember the twists and turns, but I don't actually think positively about it. So I think it's going to go, did I even read this? Oh, maybe could I give a miss? No, I'm glad I read it. Fuck it. I have positive vibes. It was good enough. It was good enough, but it wasn't anything special. Flower Heart. No clue. Absolutely no clue what happened in that. Anything could have happened. I wouldn't have been surprised. Garnet Flats. I have positive vibes. I have positive vibes about the whole series, really. So that's going to get a bit repetitive. so I'm not going to go into each one, but there are a couple that stuck out, so if I remember which ones those are, I'll let you know. Ghost Station stuck with me. So creepy, so unique to what I have read. Love S.A. Barnes, love her atmosphere. Gothicana, could have given it a miss. It was an interesting enough book, but not something that I would find myself recommending to anyone. Graceling, this is a hard one. I hated Graceling. But was it a waste of life? I hated some of the messaging and the ending, but I didn't hate the whole experience. So I'll say could have given it a miss. Happy Place, loved it, lives in my soul rent-free. One of my favourite books of the year. Heartless by Elsa Silver. This is my favourite one of hers. Is that Cade? Yeah, this is Cade and Willow's story, which is my favourite one. So happy to have read that. Heartstopper Volume 2. Very cute, very funny, very sweet, positive vibes. That's all to take. Could have been about anything. Yeah. Your guess is as good as mine. Here, one moment. This is a hard one. I think I'm gonna forget this in the long term. I don't think realistically the book is gonna stick with me. And I didn't really enjoy my time, so I'm gonna put, did I even read this? Hide. This was one of the first few horrors that I read, and I had a good time reading it. While it wasn't my favourite, I'm actually going to put it in stuck with me, because I think it's the experience of reading it is going to have made an impact on my life. Alright, Azumi, I think about this book all the time. I'm really happy I read it. I'm so interested in picking up the other volumes of it. Hopeless. There's one scene in particular in Hopeless that sticks with me. So I'm going to put it in stuck with me. The Crescent City series. Oh, I enjoyed the first one. I'm going to put the first one in stuck with me. I enjoyed the last one. I'm going to put that in positive vibes. The middle one, I couldn't tell you a single thing that happened in it. That might be controversial, but I took a break. I took a break while reading it, and I just forgot everything that happened in it. I hope this finds you well. Positive vibes. Positive vibes. It might stick with me, it might not, but at the moment, positive vibes. I was a teenage slasher, again. Positive vibes. It's not something I think about often, but I did have a good time while reading it. Indigo Ridge stuck with me. It's one of the ones I like the best from the series. James. I think this is a sticks with me. It wasn't my favourite writing style, but the experience of reading it was just great. Jasperville and Juniper Hill. I can't tell you what happened in these two because I don't remember the names, but I remember every storyline. And I enjoyed them both. Kindling. Positive vibes. Good time. Happy I read it. But nothing super special. Leather and Lark. I hated this. I enjoyed Butcher and Blackbird enough, but Leather and Lark, I just really couldn't get on board with the characters, and I felt like the kind of mystery and danger that was promised in the synopsis just like didn't happen at all. I would unread it if I could. Legends and Lattes, one of my favourites. This changed my perspective on cozy books. This 100% is something that I recommend to everyone. Lights out. This is what Butcher and Blackbird should have been. It really got the tone right of dark romance and comedy. I think about it a lot. I think about it a lot. Loathe to Love You. I'm happy with that one. Love on the Brain. I could have done without. It's my least favourite Ali Hazelwood. It's my least favourite Ali Hazelwood, I think. Love Theoretically, loved it. That's my favourite one. That's my favourite Ali Hazelwood. Madness. Oh, this is such an important book to me. I think it might live in my soul rent-free. It was so hard for me to read because it's not like anything I usually pick up, but I think it's something that I'm going to think about a lot and that taught me a lot and that has an impact on my understanding of the world. Midnight is the Darkest Hour. I have positive feelings about this. No one else does. It's just me, alone in my corner with this book. But I enjoyed it. My Killer Vacation stuck with me. This is one of the few books that I've read that mixes romantic comedy with mystery thriller, and that is like such a perfect combination for me. Riches at Thorn Manor. This is like a little novella epilogue to Sorcery of Thorns, and while I had a good time with it and I was glad it existed, I don't remember anything about it, so maybe I should move it down. Did I even read this? I'm not sure. Nanny for the Neighbours. If you didn't know, I love Lily Gold. I love her books. Nanny for the Neighbours is my least favourite, and I don't remember much about it. But I would reread it, because I know I enjoyed the experience. Ninth House. Not for me. Could have missed it out and I would have been fine. Nothing to See Here. Again, I think I would have been fine not reading it. I think I would have liked it if it had been a full-length novel, but as a novella, it just didn't really hit for me. Off to the Races. I have positive vibes about Off to the Races. It's Elsie Silver's first series, the first book in her first series, and I enjoyed it. I liked it a fair amount. Orbital. I have positive vibes about Orbital. Didn't love it, didn't hate it, but happy I read it. Powerless. Sorry, I didn't like it. But Reckless, yeah, it was a good one. It was a good one. I enjoyed it, I had fun. Sale Peak. Positive vibes. I think most of that series is going to end up here. I think there's only one more. I think it will end up there as well. Service Model. Good book. Good messaging. Interesting. But not something that's going to change my life. Sociopath. Positive vibes. Go watch my Goodreads video if you want to learn about that one. Somewhere Beyond the Sea. I think all TJ Klune books are a minimum have stuck with me. Minimum. Sorcery of Thorns. Loved this book. I think it's one of the few YA books that I really, really loved. I wouldn't change my reading experience for the world. Stony Arm Devotional. Did I even read this? What happened in it? Nothing. Can't remember. Again, Summon to the Winds. I enjoyed it. Are we getting to the ones that I don't remember? Book of Azrael. I don't remember what happened. I don't remember anything about it. I think angels were involved. Simon Bum Bookstore. I have positive vibes about this book. I remember loving it, I remember enjoying it, but I don't think it's going to be very impactful. Crimson Moth, positive vibes. This is a book I enjoyed and I am actually really eager to pick up the sequel. Dead Romantics, positive vibes. I really enjoyed it, but I don't ever think about it. The Death of Mrs. Westaway. I don't even remember how I felt about it. I remember parts of the storyline, but I don't remember having any emotion about it. The Ever King and Ever Queen. I think these two weren't for me. I enjoyed them at the time, but I think the writing style was just a bit young for me, so it hasn't stuck with me in any way. God of the Woods, this has stuck with me. I didn't have the best time, but the storyline and the things it said were really great, I think, for the book. I really enjoyed it. The Guest List. I gave this book a really high rating, but I don't know how I feel about it now. Positive vibes. I had positive vibes. Happy Me Project. It took me months to read that, and I don't think there was anything that made it special. The House Witch. This is my favourite series. I loved them all. I don't think all of them are my favourite book ever, but that first one, one of my favourite books of the year. Loved it. Last Passenger. Ooh, I gave it a low rating. But the concept has stuck with me. So I'm going to put it in positive vibes. The Last Word. I think I'm going to forget this book. I think this book means almost nothing to me. And I feel horrible saying that, but I think it's going to be a book I forget, but remember fondly. Long Way to a Small Angry Planet. Another favourite. I got this book in my scavenger hunt and I'm so glad I did. It is definitely one of my favourite books of the year. So The Love Hypothesis, I have positive vibes. I thought it was silly and fun and I had a good time with it. The Maidens. I can tell you the twist, but I've forgotten 300 out of 350 pages. The Push wasn't for me, but The Silent Patient was great. I had a good time with it. Southern Book Guides, Guys to Tame Vampires. I wanted to enjoy this more than I did, but I did still enjoy it, so I think it's going to have to go and stuck with me. Again, one of my first few horrors, and I think that's going to be an important thing for me down the road, and I really want to pick up more Grady Hendrix. What was it called? Throne of Broken Gods. I remember waiting to read the Book of Azrael until this book came out so that I could read the two of them together, and now I couldn't tell you a single thing that happened. I think a guy is a god, and I remember him having like a rundown castle in the sky, and that's all I remember. This is How You Lose the Time War. I have positive feelings about this. Again, it's something I only just read, so I can't tell you how it's going to sit with me in the future, but I have positive vibes about it right now. 3 Swedish Mountain Men. I have positive vibes. I enjoyed that book. It was a little bit silly, but I had a good time. Thrown in the Dark. This is the one I remember. I have positive vibes about this one. I remember enjoying it. I remember the storyline. I'm happy with it. Throttled. I only just remember it, so I'm gonna put it in. Did I even read this? I couldn't tell you a single character name. Triple Duty Bodyguards. This is my favourite Lily Gold. I have reread it and I enjoyed it. It's another one of those that blends romance with mystery thriller, and I loved it. Twisted Love. No idea what it's about. Absolutely no clue. Vow of Thieves. Needs to go with Dance of Thieves. I feel the same about both of them. I have positive feelings about those books. Want. I don't think it's going to stick with me, but I did have a good time reading it. I'm going to go with positive vibes. I'm happy I read it, but it's not something I'm going to think about much. I didn't like We Used to Live Here. We're going to move on from that. Welcome to Fae Cafe has stuck with me the whole year. It's one of my favourite books. And I'm so happy to own it, and I'm so excited for the sequel. Wise Creatures. I didn't give this a super high rating, but I think about it a lot. I think about the writing style of it a lot. I think it's really interestingly written, and I think it has led me to think about reading books that I would have been afraid of otherwise. Yours Truly. I enjoyed. But I didn't love it. I have realised that I have doubled up on some of these, so I'm just going to go through and see if I can find ones that I haven't spoken about yet. House of Hunger. Oh. This breaks my soul, but I could have not read it. I don't think my life has changed in any way because of that book. I say it breaks my soul because I loved Year of the Witching. Year of the Witching is one of my favourite books of all time. So I'm a little bit sad that I didn't love it. Hush Little Baby. All of the Jefferson Winter series sticks with me. This was a reread for me, which is why it wasn't included initially, but Hush Little Baby is a great book. Sword Heart. Lives in my soul rent free. It's one of my go-to rereads. I love the audiobook, I love the physical book. I can't get the physical book, but they're republishing it and I am counting down the days. I saw another one. The Bodyguard. I have positive vibes. It was fun. But I felt like some of the messaging was a bit weird. Part of Your World. I think about. I remember it and I think about it. So we're going to go with Stuck With Me. I know that Project Hail Mary we haven't talked about. This is one of my favourite books of all time. I'm happy it exists. And I'm happy I get to reread it all the time. Is there anything else we haven't talked about? Oh, the Lisa Jewell ones. None of this is true. I didn't care for. I would miss it. Not my favourite. But Then She Was Gone stuck with me. Deeply twisted book. And I loved it. I think this is the last one. Notes on an Execution. I don't remember anything about it, which is a shame because I know it was really great for a lot of people. I think that just like, it reinforces what I was saying earlier. Just because I have this opinion does not mean your opinion will line up with mine. So if you enjoyed it, I'm really glad you did. Oh my god, Dead Silence! I haven't done Dead Silence. Babe, this might be my favourite book of the year. Oh, beautiful book. Beautiful book. All my favourite things wrapped up. I think that's it. So I'm just gonna show them to you one more time. These are all the books I read this year. And this is where I would rank them in terms of what became important to me after reading it. What I have fond memories of. What I've completely forgotten about. And what I would be pretty happy leaving in the past. I hope this gives you a glimpse into my brain. I'm gonna stop recording now. Okay. That was it, that was the whole video. I'm going to use those top 2 brackets to figure out my favourite book of the year, which we will do later. You never know, there might be some surprise contenders that come up in the last couple of weeks of the year. But that was it. That was my whole spiel about the nearly 120 books I've read this year. And that's the end of Bookmas Day 3. I hope you stick around for the next Bookmas video. So if you wanna like and subscribe, I'd love that for you. I'd love that for me. I'd love that for everyone involved. I hope to see you again soon, and I hope you're having a lovely day.